What is going on, everybody? How you doing today? You feeling good? I hope so. I'm doing pretty good over here. In today's video, I'm going to be learning about Sweden. Yeah, I'm your average everyday American, and I know next to nothing about Sweden. And since I can't travel anywhere due to the big C, or actually, I think it's Cancer. Yeah, okay, the smaller C, no, it's definitely bigger than, it's like a medium-sized C. Due to the medium-sized C, I cannot travel. And I want to, I love traveling and I love exploring new places and cultures. And unfortunately, none of us can really do that right now. And it's looking like it's probably gonna be a while before I ever get out there. So I'd like to learn about it with a little video from the guys from Geography Now. These guys are fantastic. They give me so much information about people's culture, their like landscapes, like their customs, their food. It's so cool. After watching one of these videos, I guarantee you are going to want to visit that place because they just do such a good job. So I highly recommend Geography Now. I'll be sure to link them down in the description. They're awesome. They're everywhere. But yeah, Sweden. I don't know much about Sweden. I know you guys got some meatballs. Yeah. I don't even know. I mean, yeah, I think Swedish meatballs are like in gravy as opposed to in marinara, which is the way we do it over here in America. You guys are eating it with gravy. Bizarro Land. Let's give it a shot here. Geography Now, Sweden. Let's go. Oh, and if you guys are new around here, please like and subscribe. I do this kind of thing all the time. Here we go.
Sweden. I don't have to give much of an introduction. I'm sure you've all heard of this one. We've scaled the treacherous Danish peaks of Møllehøj, stomached the ammonia-flavored Icelandic Haukarl, and our wallets were viciously attacked by Norwegian prices of anything. But now it's time. Welcome to the final boss of Scandinavia, Sweden. Whew, it's hot. I'm all hot and sweaty right now.
You know the drill.
Oh yeah, okay.
Kick it.
Oh yeah, Noah's back, by the way.
Here we are.
Yeah. Welcome back, Noah.
It's time to learn geography.
No! Hey everybody, I'm your host Barbs. Get a Geography Now t-shirt or Geography Now merch at geographynow.com. Not selling out if it's your brand. Anyway, all right, you guys, this is it. Our last Nordic country.
But what about...
You're a constituent.
But what about?
You're an unincorporated territory.
But what about me?
We already did your video. I even went there. Okay, anyway, I actually wanted to go to Sweden for this episode, but at the last minute, Sweden was like, dude, we're gonna close off our borders to anyone outside the EU. But
yeah.
How it goes. The show must go on. And if we can't go to Sweden, we're gonna bring Sweden to us, and in the best possible way, with real Swedish people. And I mean like real Swedes, not those 5th generation Minnesota Swedes that eat lutefisk once a year. And so
calling the people of Minnesota out. Calling you out. How do you feel about that, Minnesota? How's that make you feel? Yeah, no, it's true, man. Nobody can travel, and a lot of times these guys will travel from place to place and actually have some footage of them kind of kicking it with the people and just kind of doing some hiking and whatnot. But we all know the drill. We know.
With that, say hi to Jonas and Carolina. Come on in.
Woo! Hey.
Yeah. I got 2 Swedes. So you guys are the real deal. Swedish, straight up, right?
I was born in Sweden and lived there for 10 years. And then my mom moved me to the enemy, to Norway.
Oh, so you're half Norwegian. Okay.
Is Norway the enemy?
From Skåne, so we might have some angry people out there claiming I'm Danish, but...
It was LA. You guys were the best I could find. So anything you want to say to the Swedish subscribers?
Nah, I'm excited for you guys to learn more about your country. Our country.
We're excited too, Jonas.
By the way, where are you guys from?
I'm from Helsingborg.
And I'm from Skellefteå.
Now, there are many ways you can divide Europe. Like you have the Mediterranean. Tomato for sale, tomato. The post-Iron Curtain. The Balkans. But everyone knows the further north you go, things start to get delicious and sweet.
Anyway, let's look at the globe.
Sweden lies in the region of Scandinavia in Northern Europe and is the largest of all the Scandinavian countries, the 5th largest in Europe and 3rd in the EU. The country is bordered by Norway to the west and north and Finland in the northeast, separated by the Gulf of Bothnia otherwise between them. In this gulf, you can also find Sweden's 2 largest islands, Öland and Gotland. Otherwise in the south, the only other physical connection they technically have is with Denmark via the partially submerged and partially above ground Öresund Bridge that connects Malmö, the 3rd largest city, to Copenhagen.
That is a badass bridge. So it literally goes under, like it starts above the water, then it goes underneath it. I don't know if I've ever seen anything like that.
My best with these pronunciations, bear with me. The country's largest city, though, and capital is Stockholm, located on the east side of the country, and it actually sits on 14 islands with over 50 bridges at the drainage of Lake Mälaren, with over 20 lakes and countless streams. This is why it is sometimes referred to as the Venice of the North. The country is divided into 21 counties, each abbreviated by a letter or double letter known as a country code. For the EU statistical system, though, the counties are grouped into 8 riksområden, or national areas, to address things like population data and so forth, but they in themselves do not have any administrative function. Otherwise, if you ask a Swede, they might revert back to the 3 traditional lands of Sweden: Norrland, Svealand, and Götaland. Technically, there was a fourth, Österland, which was basically South Finland when it was under Swedish rule, but that term hasn't been used since the 15th century. Anyway, Stockholm is also the central hub of economic activity and transportation. The largest and busiest airport is Stockholm's Arlanda International, which, like so many European international airports, is located super far from the actual city. It takes a 20-minute express train or 45-minute car drive to downtown. The second largest airport, Landvetter International, is located in the second largest city, Göteborg, or Gothenburg for the misguided English speakers. Göteborg actually also has the largest shipping port in the country and the largest in all of Scandinavia, taking in about a third of all Swedish trade activity. It lies on the Kattegat and Skagerrak, the shallow straits that open up Scandinavia to the rest of the world. With other major cities like Oslo and Copenhagen within radius, here about 70% of all industry and commerce through Scandinavia happens. It's a busy spot to say the least. Finally, the country has quite an organized system of roads and rail networks that more or less parallel each other. There are 2 main north-south highways, the E4 that hugs the entire Bothnia coast, and the E45, the longest road in the country that goes along the mountains inland from...
Can you imagine just like doing a road trip down like the E45, just like right in the center there? I'd love doing it. Even the E4 might be nice against the coast there. It'd just be awesome. I wonder how long that would take you by car.
All the way to the border with Finland in the north.
Also, it's important to note that Sweden claims to have the most islands out of any other country in the world, at over 200,000.
In any case, Sweden's domain wasn't always confined to these borders.
For starters, Sweden, being Scandinavian, obviously have Viking history. If you know anything about Vikings, you'll know that they went places.
They were literally in the Americas 500 years before Christopher Columbus.
And when they couldn't conquer an area, they...
Blasphemy! How dare they accuse that of our beloved Christopher Columbus over here in America? He sailed the ocean blue. Not the Vikings. It's Chris Columbus. Of course it was the Vikings.
Left their mark somehow. Even the Hagia Sophia in Turkey has runic inscriptions hidden on it.
It was like Viking graffiti, like Vikings were here.
On top of that, in the 1600s, Sweden started to become a European powerhouse, and like many other countries, took an attempt at settling and colonizing places outside of Europe.
At one point, Sweden had fortresses and colonies in the Americas, Africa, mostly in what now is Ghana.
Further, which it's more, within Sweden, you even have a few micronations.
We don't have time to get into each of them, but they're pretty interesting. One of them was made as a protest by an artist to protect those wooden sculptures.
Anyway, the developmental structure behind Sweden has a lot of history behind it.
Like Visby on Gotland Island, probably the best preserved medieval city in Scandinavia.
Oh, that's beautiful, man. So micronations, maybe somebody in the comments can give me some clarification on this. I saw an artist out there that looked like he was like building a house or something, or had a half-built house. Can you just claim a bit of land and say it's like it's a nation in itself, or a micronation? Is that what it is? I want to go down the rabbit hole of Sweden micronations, and I want to know what's up with that.
Lastan was built as a fortress to protect against pirates.
Look how gorgeous that is.
Become a pirate, but that's another story. In fact, the country has 15 UNESCO heritage sites, and actually here's fellow geography Rebecca to explain a little bit more about the top notable sites of Sweden. Rebecca, take it away.
Hi everyone, my name's Rebecca, and if you're ever in Sweden, here are some of the most notable sites. There are plenty of notable castles, fortresses, and cathedrals, such as Drottningholm Castle, Gripsholm Castle.
Wow, look at that. Look at the architecture and something like that. Absolutely gorgeous.
Örebro Castle, Visby Town Wall, Uppsala Cathedral.
Whoa. That's awesome.
And St. Mary's Cathedral.
Yeah, look at that. Everything, it looks like a goddamn screensaver.
Sweden also has the highest concentration of runestones in
the world, no way.
The most famous one being Rökstenen. There's also
Man, dude, I would love to see a runestone like in person. Super fascinating. Super fascinating stuff.
Historical Viking sites such as Birka Viking Village, Trelleborgen, Old Uppsala, and Alestenar.
Oh my god, that's like Easter Island almost.
If you're looking for more excitement, check out the theme parks Liseberg, Gröna Lund, and Skara Sommarland. Notable museums in Sweden are the Vasa Museum, ABBA Museum, Fotografiska.
You guys got an ABBA museum?
Natural History. In Stockholm,
You guys got a whole museum dedicated to ABBA? Didn't ABBA just come back with like a new song? I think they did. I think they came back. They got a new jam out.
you can find the newly renamed Avicii Arena. It also acts as the
What is
sun
that?
of the largest scale model.
Okay, so I thought it was like actually like an arena, like a place where bands went to play, but this looks like more like a science center, so that's what I'm believing it to be. Let me take this back a little bit. Yeah, there's that ABBA museum. Are they from Sweden?
Museum, Fotografiska, and the Museum of Natural History. In Stockholm, you can find the newly renamed Avicii Arena. It also
Avicii
acts
Arena.
as the sun in the largest scale model of our solar system. Thank you, and I hope
I guess I don't understand the Vici Museum there. Like, what is actually in there? Is it a science museum? Is there a telescope in there? It looks like a place where a telescope might be. Or is it just a giant diorama? Let's keep
come to
going.
visit Sweden someday.
Thank you, Rebecca.
Speaking of Swedish places, like other Nordic countries, we have allemansrätten, which is the legal right to roam anywhere in nature.
Have you guys ever taken advantage of that Allemansrätten thing?
Nice.
You just like pick berries and like, hey.
Yeah, I mean, most places are owned by the country, so you're allowed to be there.
Can you just like walk in someone's backyard?
I was going to say.
No.
Allemansrätten?
No. It has to be
Preferably
public
not.
land.
Well,
Has to
speaking
be
of
public land.
roaming in nature, there's lots to explore.
That's kind of cool. I had the same question. I'm like, can you just consider anything like nature? I mean, someone's backyard, that's nature, you know? But apparently you can't do that. Cool law. I like that, though.
In Sweden, which brings us to
Access for the people. Here we go.
Now,
Physical
speaking of notice,
geography.
Each country kind of has their own trademark physical trait.
You know, Norway has the mountains and fjords.
course.
Denmark has the flat grassy farms,
Finland is the land of lakes.
and Iceland is basically just one big volcano.
And then you get to
Iceland's badass, man. Iceland's badass.
Sweden, and it's like a little bit of everything. Yes,
All right.
there's even a small sand volcano in Simrishamn.
Oh, cool.
Sweden
They
lies
call it a bathtub. I wonder if you can actually get in there if it's like, if the water is actually boiling, though.
the Scandinavian peninsula of northern Europe, shared with Norway, on the east side of the Scandinavian mountain chain that separates them. Here you can also find the tallest peak, Kebnekaise, in the far north. This means that Sweden gets most of its river runoff from the mountains that mostly flow down into the Gulf of Bothnia, and the longest river shared with Finland being the Torne or Tornio River. The longest river fully within Sweden, though, being the Dalälven River. Amongst these rivers is an abundance of lakes and ponds, peppering the flatter hilly valleys below, the largest of these lakes being Värnen and Vättern in the south. The reason Sweden has so many of these pockety lake zones and eroded rivets is because they sit on a post-glacial rebound zone. Basically, during the Ice Age, all this land was crushed by heavy ice. But after the ice melt, like a sponge, Sweden started to slowly spring back up again. This means every year Sweden recovers on average about 4 millimeters of land from the sea. In some places, even more. This is why you might see extended piers from old homes that once used to be situated on the shore. The country has 4
That's cool, man. I think the same thing kind of happens in Finland, if I remember correctly. You guys are just taking over. One day, Sweden is going to be in my backyard. I'll be long dead by then. Yeah, I think the same thing happens in Finland and like a bunch of different like places and areas like that. But it's kind of wild to me.
general climate zones, the oceanic zone in the south by the Baltic Sea.
But then again, like I guess with global warming and stuff, maybe like there's like a give and take relationship. So I don't know. The ocean rises, but the sea, the land rises. So I don't know what happens there. Maybe just it voids itself out.
Where most of the agriculture is situated. The continental zone is in the middle part of the country. And finally, the subarctic in the north, just above that. These areas have the highest forest concentration in the country. Also, the peaks of the mountains are classified as tundra. The top 15% of Sweden lies just north of the Arctic Circle, where the coldest temperatures and highest snowfall happens. Otherwise,
So I'm wondering, like even like below the Arctic Circle, I mean, they were showing pictures. It looks pretty sparse out there. Like it looks like there's not really too much out there. Is this like kind of like untouched land? Is this just like nature? I would imagine so, especially if it gets so cold up there.
in the south, they might not even get any snow at all in the winter. Just cold, depressing rain. Numbers fluctuate depending on which source you study, but somewhere around or above 60% of the country is forested, making it the second most forested country in Europe after Finland.
It's also important to note that Sweden has aprilväder, or April weather, in which,
It's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
Pretty much anything can happen.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, the sun is finally out after 6 months of darkness. So clothes come off. We sit in the sun. Oh, whenever you see a sweet tooth, expect this. Facing the sun, eyes closed. And then all of a sudden a storm hits or snow comes or...
What?
Out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Really?
The interesting thing, though, is that Sweden in the past was kind of not much like what they are today. In fact, at the beginning of the 20th century, much of Scandinavia was struggling with widespread poverty.
However, much like Germany's Wirtschaftswunder, they had the Rekordåren, in which Sweden's economy bursted with now industries and innovation.
And today you have the largest economy and most powerful nation in Northern Europe.
To explain a little bit
Interesting.
more on the way Sweden takes what it has and flourishes, here's Noah. He's back!
Well, here we are. Once again, let's get to it. Despite having lush green lands, only about 7% of the country is arable. Therefore, agriculture isn't exactly their main focus. Today, much of Sweden's open market economy is heavily based on exports, especially in the timber and mining sectors. The largest mine in
That's not
Kiruna is
surprising.
actually so large they are currently in the process of moving the town and residents to make more mines. This is how Sweden
shit.
in the 21st century became the world's 6th largest iron ore exporter and 3rd largest stainless steel exporter. And of course, lumber. The Swedes love trees so much that a long time ago during famine times, they would put crushed tree bark into their rye bread, which was
What?
actually good because the bark had lots of minerals and fiber. Go figure. The lumber
No
industry
way.
plays a huge role in their world-renowned furniture commerce. We've all heard of IKEA having over 450 stores in about 60 countries. IKEA. I actually studied that in design school.
Is that true, Noah?
That is true. Not that I do it, but here we are. You might be familiar with other Swedish companies like Electrolux, Ericsson, H&M, Saab, Scania, Spotify, and of course the largest domestic company and only one on the Fortune 500 list, Volvo. Great cars, I might
Yeah,
say.
they are great cars.
And that is that. Until we meet again.
Thank you, Noah.
Now, going off of this,
I feel your pain, man.
domestically, Sweden does have a pretty complex system when it comes to taxes that plays into their fiscal structure.
As of
Okay.
2021, their individual tax rates range from about 32% to 52% based on income bracket margins. And that's not even including other factors like corporate value added taxes, which can be up to 25%.
When you add
Yikes.
them, you get the second highest total tax revenue behind Denmark as a share of its country's income.
Yeah, that's, you guys kind of have high taxes.
Well, we also have healthcare.
And good
That's the thing right there. I mean, I was waiting for it. I'm like, well, what's your healthcare situation look like? What's your schooling look like? You know, is that stuff, you know, it's kind of a mess over here in America. I'm not going to get into that, but yeah, we're in a bit of a pickle over here. We're in a bit of a pickle. And that free healthcare sounds real nice.
And good
And
roads.
we get free food, roads.
But you get free food. What does he get, like a Pizza Friday or something over there? What's going on? I missed that.
of its country's income.
Yeah, that's, you guys kind of have high taxes.
Well, we also have healthcare.
And good schools.
And good
And
roads.
we get free food.
How do you get
roads.
free food?
Roads! In any case, another interesting
We
thing
get
about
roads
Sweden
too.
is It's wildlife. And with
We'll
that,
road all
here's
day.
Carlo to explain.
Guess who's
We get
back? As a
Roadhouse.
Nordic country, Sweden is obviously a place full of cold climate animals. In fact, they have the third highest number of their national animal, the moose, or the Eurasian elk, after Russia and
Eurasian
Canada.
elk.
There's so many moose that they actually have to hunt around 100,000 every year to maintain population.
That's not a small amount of moose or mooses. How do you plural? How is moose plural? Is it already plural? Mooses? Mouse? I don't know. But that's not a small number of mooses to kill. 100,000 of them. Kind of wild, man. That's kind of wild. I guess you guys are eating moose out there.
Killing your national animal because there's too many. Go Sweden! There
Yeah.
are 30 national parks and nature prediction zones, and the most famous being in the North Lapland areas where reindeer, muskox, grey owls, and brown bears can be spotted roaming freely. Fun fact,
All right, so that's kind of like interesting. That the animals you have around Sweden are very similar to the animals that I have here in I'm in New England. I'm in the Boston area. But if I just travel up to New Hampshire, a couple miles north of me, like I'll see those moose. I've seen those kind of owls and stuff before, so I get the animal thing. We're similar on the animal front.
reindeer have climate adapted feet.
I don't think we have
in
reindeer.
summer. Their spongy foot pads are more exposed, which help with
wow.
traction. But in winter, the pads shrink and the hoof is exposed, which helps cut into the ice when moving. Finally,
Oh, nice.
Sweden is one of the few places in the world with a real taxidermized whale. The
What? You guys taxed a whole whale? How long did that take?
Mouth used to be open for visitors to walk into, but it was closed off to the public because a couple was caught having sex in it.
Of course. Why wouldn't you have sex in a whale's mouth? That's the first thing you do. That's the first thing you do. So you get a minute, a second alone. I mean, yeah, why wouldn't you?
Speaking of making babies, I made one myself. Here's a photo of my daughter. She's beautiful.
Thank
She's
you,
cute.
Gary. Yeah, I remember the first meal I had in Sweden was reindeer meatballs. You guys
Yeah,
love
what's that
reindeer.
like?
What's your favorite dishes in Sweden?
It probably is reindeer meatballs.
No way, really?
I'd say salmon. Grilled in the summer, oven baked in the winter.
Oh yeah, and you guys know fika, right? Yeah, fika. It's funny because coffee was actually banned from Sweden like 5 times in the 1700s, but that's
What?
another story. To explain a little bit more about fika
Why?
and the food, here's Johan and Rikard. All right, guys. Well, this is fika. And
Why would coffee be banned? Maybe they thought it was like a drug of some sort. I guess it is a drug. But I got a question about the meatballs, reindeer meatballs. If you ever had them, let me know. Are they good? I mean, what is reindeer meat like compared to like, I guess it's probably like venison, if I had to guess, like deer. But I don't know. Reindeer seem like a little bit more muscular. I bet you it's different. I bet you it's different than venison. I don't know. If you've had it, let me know. Is it actually good or not? I want to know. I don't think we can get it anywhere here in America. All right, so they're going to show us some more treats here. Here we go.
explain, here is Johan.
So in Sweden, fika
Hi,
is
Johan.
a huge tradition. It's something you do daily. It's a part of a workday break where you kind of like gather, you sit down and you have coffee. Historically, it's been that 7 types of cookies minimum, plus
What, minimum?
cinnamon rolls and cardamom rolls, and then pastries such.
Damn, the Swedes know how to snack. They know how to snack. So they got a 7 cookie minimum, and they do like coffee with it, and then they just have like the break they do every day. It must be cool to have something like that to look forward to. Like in America, we only have smoke breaks where you go outside and you stand by the trash cans and you inhale cancer. That's what we have. You guys get yourself a whole spread of these fancy, weird looking pastries. Like, what's this green thing? What is that? It's like a layer of Jell-O over a cake. I'm jealous. Totally jealous.
Princess cakes and other things. Every day, but not necessarily this many sorts. I wanted to give you a cross section of what it could be. So, and then the most famous on the bottom would be the princess cake.
So if I'm going to try
Princess
something, I have
cake,
to
they call
have
it.
some marzipan. So many layers.
I know.
Wow.
And
Hello there, my name is Rick and I'm here to talk about some of the food. We have kroppkakor or palt, depending on...
Ew. Potato pork dumplings. I'm not gonna lie. Well, maybe I'm looking at this wrong. I mean, this thing over here is like it's like what? It's like pork belly, I'm assuming. All right, so it's like a thick cut bacon. That just looks like some mashed potatoes. Probably some kind of cranberry sauce there. And look at this little dumpling thing. Yeah, you know, I stand corrected. This looks pretty delicious now to think about it. Yeah, that looks good. At first, I was kind of like, what am I looking at? But the closer I look, this looks pretty dang good. I'm going to try a pork dumpling.
If you are from the north or south, sill, or as you will call it, herring. We have reindeer, pea soup, cauliflower soup, surströmming, or sour herring, but eat at your own risk.
Is that... Jesus. Is it like anchovies, I guess? I'm seeing a lot of like canned and like jarred fish with the herring and whatnot. I would assume it's like anchovies. These guys don't like it.
This foods can be eaten at the traditional smorgasbord or smorgasbord.
Oh, see, now that looks like a badass buffet. That looks like a buffet. I'm used to like Chinese food buffets where it's like been sitting there for a couple hours and it's just not good. They always serve pizza randomly for one reason or another, and it's surprisingly good. Anyway, this looks like it's like quite the spread. You got like breads, you got like meat dishes. Everything is like so. That's a buffet I'd want to go to. And this stuff up here almost looks like it almost looks like princess cake, kind of. Yeah, man, this is a nice spread.
Basically a Swedish buffet. We also have Kalles or Charles caviar. It's a Swedish type.
That is the strangest thing I've ever seen. It's smoked cod roe, which is caviar or fish eggs, in paste form. That's kind of, I don't know, man. I don't know about that. I bet you I could pick up something like that on Amazon or something. Why is it in paste form? It's like the thrill and the best part of caviar is there are little eggs that pop in your mouth and give off like a cool like oily, salty flavor. Why put it in paste form and then put it in a tube? Like you're jarring stuff, you're canning stuff, just keep it the way it is. Look at this spread. Okay, so they're on some kind of you squirt out the paste here, like some toothpaste, on top of what looks like a fried egg and a crostini or a piece of bread or something. I don't know, man. Why make it into paste?
Smoked cod roe, not that super expensive.
Oh, you got multiple pastes. Look at this. You got a whole row of these paste things. Cheese and crackers. Is that lobster paste? Is that lobster paste? Is that what I'm seeing right here? I'm seeing a picture of a lobster. So you can eat. It is pureed for you. Looks like we got some crawfish down there or something, or some kind of shrimp possibly. Probably shrimp. See, lobster paste. What the hell, man? I gotta try some of this stuff.
And of course we have knäckebröd! And the traditional national dish of Sweden, Swedish tacos. Over to some drinks from Sweden. We have akvavit, or flavored caraway liquor. Julmust on Christmas, and påskmust on Easter. Glögg, we have glögg. And of course my personal favorite, punch. It's made by the mixing of spirits like arak, brandy or rum with arak tea with some sugar and water. Very sweet, very strong, and very nice.
Okay, yeah, we got something like that here, but we make it in our bathtubs, and we call it jungle juice, and it's freaking wild, man. You take some Everclear, you take some Mountain Dew, you take about a gallon of red and a gallon of purple, that's what it's called, red and purple. It's like some kind of fruit juice, and then you just mix it in the bathtub. Then you just put your foot in there and you shake it around a little bit, stir it up a bit, and then you just take a solo cup and you sink that in. And then we have our version of punch. We just call it jungle juice. Or maybe I do. Maybe it's just my white trashness. I don't know.
Thank you, Johan and Rikard. Oh yeah, you guys also have something about like the alcohol in Sweden. Can you guys explain what is that?
It's called the Systembolaget, which is like the Swedish system of selling heavily regulated alcohol at state-owned stores at set prices.
So you can be 18 and go to a bar to get liquor, but you can't buy it at a store until you're 20.
Correct.
Logic, you know?
Logic, yeah.
The way it goes is that Norwegian people go to Sweden to buy alcohol, Swedish people go to Denmark to buy alcohol, and Danish people go to Germany to buy alcohol.
You guys all have a system.
Yeah, we have a system for cheap alcohol.
So there's probably a bunch of 16-year-olds taking a ferry over to Denmark.
The ferry itself is a party.
Yes. I've been on that ferry. I've been on that ferry with my mom between Helsingborg and Helsingør. Oh, and a funny story, I was told when potatoes were introduced to Sweden, it was kind of like this. What are these things?
Well, obviously, liquor.
And that's how akvavit was.
Oh man, a little confused about the heavily regulated alcohol stuff. I know there's some age limit things they were talking about by going to a bar when you're 18 or buying it in a store when you're 20. But I did see a little piece of text on the bottom of the screen there saying alcohol has to be 3.5%. So I'm wondering, are you guys is your alcohol monitored in that way where it can't be above a certain like ABV? Because it's very specifically said 3.5%, but even like a can of Bud Heavy, just not Bud Light, like Bud Heavy, like that's 5% alcohol right there. So I wonder if you guys regulate that. But I mean, I'm seeing some of these spirits and aperitifs that keep showing up there, and they look like they're, like that looks to me like almost like an Everclear or something. I think they're just showing vodka, but I don't know. I wonder if that's a thing. But I'm assuming you guys have vodka and rum and cognacs and bourbons and all that fun jazz. You got to have it. No way you don't.
Supposedly. What's that thing about candy on Saturdays? Explain, Carolina.
Lördagsgodis. You get to eat candy on Saturdays. So when we were kids, we got a little amount of money. We got to run to the store and pick our favorite candy. It's amazing. Best in the world. I mean, yes, good ingredients. When you come here, pretty much half the ingredients of American candy is illegal in Sweden. So.
Yeah, we do that. Well, on that note, we've talked a lot about some of your small little traditions. Let's explain a little bit more.
It's funny how like our ingredients are illegal for you guys. Like you can't be injecting red dye number 5 into your veins. Like, no, we're not going to let you have. No, they just don't let their people have it because God knows what kind of cancer is riddled with that. But sure, let's put lobster in a tube. Make that paste. Totally fine. 100% fine. Pastify it. Who cares? I hate chewing stuff. I just want to put it in my mouth and I want to slide down my throat and then I want to be sustained.
I asked geography Johan to explain Swedish people and what they're like, and he described it something like this. A Swedish person is pretty reserved. They will definitely help you, but probably won't take the immediate initiative to help you. The way I see it, it's kind of like,
Oh no, I hope I don't fall. Oh, I'm falling. Oh, and I dropped my wallet. And I got the results of the test back. I definitely have breast cancer. Can you help me? Or...
Oh, I'm sorry. Was I supposed to help you?
Yeah,
oh my god. Yeah. Here's...
Also, what are some other kind of taboos in Swedish culture? What do you think?
I guess when you get on the bus, if there is another available seat and you go sit next to someone, don't do that. Just don't.
And don't have too much eye contact in general.
Preferably none.
Explain, what is lagom and jantelov?
It's a law that basically tells you that don't think you're better than anyone. It's like, don't tell people that you got good grades. Just get them and move on.
But still, you know, kind of let them see it on
Yeah, it's definitely based on status.
Lagom is this...
That's kind of funny, man. I agree with the bus thing. I agree. You know, like, nobody likes hanging out with people. You know, when you have to do stuff, if you're on a bus, if you're traveling somewhere and you're in a public place, like around strangers, like chances are you don't want to be talking with somebody. You don't want to be having small talk with people. I feel like I could be just fine in Sweden. You could just drop me there. You'd never know I was there. We'd be making no eye contact. I would not start up conversations with anybody. I'd be fine out there. I would be fine. I'd mix right in with the people of Sweden. I'd be like just pasting my food. Everything would be paced. I would be making zero eye contact. I'd be drinking alcohol that's 3.5%. So I'd have to drink like 90 beers or something to get a buzz on. I don't know. Let's continue here. And you get the law that you can't think you're better than anybody else. I'm fine with that. I'm all about keeping it humble. But I don't know. It's kind of funny.
Word that does not exist in English, and it basically means not too much, not too little, just the perfect amount. I would say that a Swedish person is generally intelligent. Is that full of myself saying that?
Nah, it's just a result of our educational system.
That's right.
But part of your culture, jantelov, you're not allowed to do that, right?
Oh, right. No, but now we're in America. So.
Now we're in America. We brag about everything. You see the tires on my truck? You seen them? They're huge. Look at me. I'm special.
Well, that was a discussion. Any case, let's break down the population of Sweden.
Sweden has a population of about 10.25 million and has one of the oldest populations in the world at about 41 years of age on average. About 75% of the country claims to be ethnically Swedish, and this is where things get a little complicated. For the remaining 25%, the Swedish government doesn't have any official statistical data on foreign background, but what we do know is that of these people, about 2 million of them were born abroad, and about 600,000 were born in Sweden as second generation with foreign parents. We also know that as of 2020, due to the refugee crisis, the largest immigrant communities had origins mostly from Syria and Iraq, which surpassed Finland and Poland in the 21st century for the largest foreign-born communities.
Yeah, we'll talk about the refugee thing later. But in the meantime,
Sweden uses the Swedish krona as its currency.
And we use the type C and F plug outlets. And we drive on the right side of the road. But we used to drive on the left side until September 3rd, 1967.
When the högertrafiksomläggningen was instituted.
And it was a crazy time. People were all confused and jamming.
I bet.
In Sweden,
Can you imagine them just changing which side of the road you have to drive on, like overnight like that? Like, nah, we're doing this thing now. Bear with us. There must have been so many accidents.
The language is, shocker, Swedish.
But the funny thing is, even though Swedish originated and has pretty much always been spoken natively in Sweden, Swedish actually only became official in the country in 2009.
Yeah, they kept kind of arguing about it. It was like,
No, it might be seen as more difficult for international issues. It might be seen as discriminatory, maybe, for those who don't speak Swedish. God!
So let's break this down. The country is called Sweden. What the f*** do you think people should speak in Sweden?
And that's how Swedish became the official language of Sweden.
We've explained this before, but the three Scandinavian countries can all more or less understand each other. If you learn one, you can pretty much kind of communicate with the others. It's just, you know, when they hear Danish, it's like,
oh, hey, Denmark. Interesting.
And the interesting thing is that the Swedish language has pitches.
Here's geography Marcus to explain a little bit more.
So
Pitches.
yeah, Swedish is a very hard language to learn. We also have pitch dialect. Some words look and are pronounced exactly the same, but have different meanings. So the word plan, it can mean a plan, like having a great plan. It can also mean pitch, like a football pitch, fotbollsplan. Banan, which means banana, but if you pronounce it banan, it means the track.
Thank you, Marcus.
In any case, on top of that, there are also 5 protected languages in Sweden. Finnish, Menkal, Sami, Romani, and Yiddish.
Also, Sweden has a lot of regional accents.
If she spoke her native language right now, or
you don't even say dialect, you say language.
Native dialect, I wouldn't understand a word.
Say the most difficult southern Swedish thing you can say.
Okay, this is not my accent, okay? Disclaimer. Det är nämnt men tradigt och köra rulleball.
It is easy but difficult to drive a roller coaster.
Wheelbarrow, but that was really good.
Right?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
All right.
You thought wheelbarrow was roller coaster. Whoa! In any case, Christianity was introduced in the 9th century. Today, most Swedes, regardless of their level of religious devotion or lack thereof, are at least registered with the Swedish Lutheran Church.
And like the Danes and Norwegians, they have their confirmation ceremonies at age 14 or 15.
In old times, ancient Swedes and the Norse people followed the Asatru religion, you know, where Thor, Odin, Loki, all of them were from.
Otherwise, Sweden is a constitutional monarchy, although they are mostly seen as just figurehead celebrities with almost no actual legislative power.
And today, the royal family is actually French descended.
For what it's worth, being the largest of the Scandinavian countries, Sweden has a lot on its plate.
In general, most people would say that the system works. Yes, we do have one of the highest life expectancies in the world at over 82 years.
People
That's
get paid
crazy.
to go to schools they are accepted in.
Healthcare is free for people under 18. Dental is free for anyone under 23.
Otherwise, there are price caps for medical and pharmaceutical services, and they are usually cheap.
However,
Oh my God. Price caps. Guys are crazy out there. Price caps, that stuff. Okay. All right. Well, okay.
population, there is a bit of a shortage in medical facilities, and like most state-subsidized healthcare systems, wait times can be an issue sometimes, and they follow the 0-30-90-90 rule. This rule states that a person cannot wait more than 90 days to see a specialist and 90 days after diagnosis to receive surgery unless it is deemed an emergency. This means that the worst case scenario, potentially, it could take almost half a year to get treated.
This is one reason why 1 out of 10 Swedes actually prefer private insurance, which was, made available in 2010 rather than relying on universal healthcare system.
That's the issue we have here in America. Everyone's saying like, hey, if we go full on like free healthcare, for everybody, the wait times will be so ridiculous you'll just never see a doctor. But honestly, the way that it is over here is the wait times are already so ridiculous that we just never see a doctor anyway. You might as well say, screw it, let's just do this, but can't do that. Too many people making too much money for that to happen. And it's unfortunate. At least you guys have caps over there on like what you're doing with health insurance and after a while, after you're 23 or whatever, like you might have to pay out of pocket, but I'm sure there's a reasonable cap on it, which is cool. There's no caps on it here. To put that in perspective, a buddy of mine's dad was in the hospital with COVID for like a couple days, having some severe issues, had to go on a ventilator and stuff. He walked out of that hospital with over $1 million in debt. Yeah, $1 million in debt. Yeah, pretty crazy. So it literally at any point in your life, any one of us over here in America, if you don't have health insurance, which is incredibly expensive, you could do something that will completely bankrupt you and ruin you financially for the rest of your life. Yeah, that's just a very real possibility we all have at any given moment. And sadly, it just happens to thousands of us every single day. It's surprising to me that you guys live so long. 82 years old. I think we cap off like somewhere around like early 70s, somewhere in there, which, makes sense. We're a little unhealthy over here. But yeah, I was surprised to see how long you guys live. Let's continue.
We aren't going to fully sugarcoat this episode. Everyone knows that Sweden has seen quite a few drastic changes in the past decade or so. During the 2014-15 refugee crisis, Sweden saw a wave of asylum seekers, mostly from Syria and Iraq.
Obviously, this unexpected influx in such a short time, barely allowing the new immigrants time to integrate, kind of played out in many ways that made international news.
Now, this is where the narrative kind of steps on thin ice, because you want to be seen as compassionate, but you also can't avoid the fact that statistically, problems that quiet Sweden had never really seen before obviously kind of started to arise. We've seen the news features, riots, multiple cities, crime rising, but at the same time, you also want to be seen as compassionate, but without sidestepping the issues. So the question was, How?
Well, it's not an easy question to answer.
So, like, I don't know, what do you guys think of that whole situation of the drama?
You can see it as either win-win or lose-lose in many ways, because if you're completely against taking in immigrants, you're basically considered a racist. And if you're trying to turn a blind eye to the fact that, you know, crime has risen a lot the last years, then that's not great either. So I think this is a fairly new problem, and it takes some time to really figure it out.
It's difficult.
And kind of a discussion of how to help people, you know, integrate into the society in general.
Swedish society.
I think integration is keyword.
You know, half the people are gonna argue for all the benefits of opening our country up and helping people, and those are huge as well.
Yeah. See, this is kind of part of the complication of Sweden. There's always like a dichotomy of ethics and consequences within their story. For example, they've been neutral, or at least on paper, for 200 years, yet that neutrality has always kind of been tested throughout the time.
In World War I, our choice not to intervene pretty much costed us the chance to integrate the Åland Islands.
And in World War II, Sweden took like almost all of Denmark's Jewish refugees. However, they did trade with Nazi Germany and let them use the railroad.
But it's like, what other choice did they have when they just witnessed and saw Denmark getting demolished and attacked and occupied in like 6 hours? It's like, do you stay neutral yet technically cooperate, or fight back with no chance and lose everything? So many heavy choices with no simple answers.
Yeah.
Well, that was fantastic.
That's the thing, man. He nailed it. You know, there is no simple answer to something like that. I think these guys really did a great job commentating and talking about the problems with all of these refugees in an honest way. You know, it sucks. It sucks that, you know, this sort of thing is happening, but you really can't turn a blind eye if crime is going way up. And I'm no expert on you know, what this refugee crisis thing is. I'm just thinking about like what's kind of going on in my own backyard, and it's the issue that we have here. And I'm sure you've heard it, build the wall, which I'm against. I've always been against, and it never got finished anyway, and it was just kind of a waste of time and resources. But there's a lot of people here in America that are like saying, you know, it's like, oh, the crime's going to go way up. You know, these Mexicans are going to come in and they're going to take everybody's jobs, and you know, there's gang members and they're not good people, and why can't they just come in the right way? And the problem gets to be, it can take years to get citizenship, and this, you know, you could be in a dire situation. And the way I see it is, you know, being an American, and I'm sure the way they feel as well too, is that you want to embrace everybody. Like these people, you know, these refugees from either Mexico or Syria or wherever they're coming from to a new place, like they're dealing with dire consequences. They're dealing with a lot of things that's life or death, and they're at the end of their rope. This is their only other option. They have to do something. And I think you want to be compassionate. You want to, like, you know, be, you know, a human firsthand and help out your brother or your sister just from the human race perspective. But you can't ignore the crime rates, and you can't ignore that kind of stuff either. So I think the best thing to do is, honestly, we're in unprecedented times, you know? We're in unprecedented times, you know. I think we got to just kind of take people in and just see how it turns out. And just like I think Joanne said here, is just make sure integration is smooth and make sure things are working out for everybody. But how does that happen? There's no easy answer to it. You know, we're all dealing with it no matter what side of the world we're on. We all have very similar problems in some way or another. And it's that's one of the fascinating things about doing these reactions are to me. But let's continue here.
Uplifting.
In any case,
I know, right?
Move on. One thing Sweden definitely does actually feel uplifted by would be their heavy involvement in sports.
And with that, Art usually fills in for the sports part, but again, he's still on vacation with his family, so I don't know. Noah, why don't you fill in? All right, Noah, you got to be Art this time. He's gone, so you know.
No
wig.
The do and you go to.
Oh yeah, I forgot.
Sorry, but sports in Sweden. Fun fact, they actually won a half medal at the 1900 Olympics, technically. They teamed up with Denmark in the tug-of-war event. Yes, there actually used to be a tug-of-war event in the Olympics, which does sound pretty cool. Why would you get rid of
why would you get rid of that?
Olympics to do tug-of-war? That'd be pretty awesome.
You could just be your own team, Noah.
There are two sports that kind of originated in Sweden, brandball and floorball. Brandball is kind of like baseball, and floorball is basically like hockey with a ball on the floor. So the thing about Sweden is that each of their neighbors is kind of like their biggest rivals in a certain sport. And of course, we can't mention football without mentioning their biggest player, Zlatan Ibrahimovic. But depending on who you ask, many people might say that ice hockey is the national sport. In 2006, they became the first and so far only team to win both tournaments in the same calendar year, Olympics and World Championships. They're part of the Big Six that are considered the best ice hockey teams in the world, including Canada, Czechia, Finland, Russia, and the United States. That's the sports parts.
Thank you, Noah. So much culture in Sweden. Actually, if you want to learn more about it, just read The Adventures of Niels. He rides a goose around Sweden and learns some life lessons along the way or something.
With that, here's Random Hannah with culture stuff.
Hey guys, I'm back! Woo! In Sweden, you'll find that every region has its unique identity. For example, the Sami people of Lapland in the north, they have their reindeer herding, tents, and colt or yakti clothing. If you go to the south in Skåne though, you'll find a radically different culture of glass blowing and silversmithing, stuff like that. Of course, we don't have time to dive into all the regions, but one thing you'll realize is that they all have a traditional costume or folkdräkter. One thing you will see all over Sweden is the typical redwood farmhouse. They also have the Dalahäst, a wooden horse usually painted red with patterns. And speaking of iconic animals, Swedes actually love Donald Duck, even more than Mickey Mouse. And every year during Christmas, they show Donald Duck and his friends wish you a Merry Christmas on the TV. Sweden also has many notable individuals in the arts and literature department. And probably the most critically well known is Anders Zorn, who is commissioned to paint numerous high-profile figures. Swedes are known for their crime, fiction, drama, and literature. They love the complex, moody scenarios. Many people attribute this guy, I'm not even going to try and say his name, as the founder of modern Scandinavian crime fiction. But the #1 best-selling Swedish author of all time is actually Astrid Lindgren. You've probably heard of her Pippi Longstocking series.
Oh, that's from her?
Consumable media, if you want to learn about culture, history, and geography through film, check out
I used to love Pippi Longstocking.
people like Ingmar Bergman, who is a huge influential person in the film industry, and he was from Sweden. Finally, Sweden is known for having a ton of inventions and discoveries, such as nicotine gum, the pacemaker.
Oh my god, dude. Thank you. Thank you for nicotine gum. I'm chewing it right now. I love this stuff.
A 3-point seatbelt, GPS, the ultrasound, dynamite, and the Celsius temperature scale. And 4 elements on the periodic table were named after the town Ytterby. Ytterberg. I give up, guys. Too many strange vowels and sounds. And one thing you should give up on is Keith and his music segment. Take it away, Keith.
Wow, so we're finally talking about this country that I have totally not any sort of bias towards. Oh wait, hold on, I think I'm forgetting something. I hope everybody recognizes my favorite Swedish band right here. Let's talk about Sweden, shall we? Technically, Sweden doesn't have a national anthem. So they have this one song, it's called Du Gamla Du Fria. I guess it's the de facto anthem, but not the official one. There's tons of really great Swedish folk songs accompanied by the Swedish nickel harp. Kind of looks like a keyboard mixed with a violin. Who likes Strandberg guitar? Strandberg guitars? I do. Just so many great guitar players. Per Nelson, greatest guitar player I think out of Sweden. There's also Yngwie Malmsteen, Ola Öglund, Michael Ackerfeldt. I don't understand why Scandinavia has produced some of the world's greatest guitar players. Anyways, Sweden has also a very pop-centric side. Who doesn't know ABBA? I Want to Be a Dancing Queen. ABBA won in 1974 for the Eurovision contest. Also, now ABBA's actually going to be making a new album after doing 40 years of basically nothing. Since then, Sweden has been kind of the pioneers of electro pop and dance music. More well-known artists might be Avicii, the Carnigans, Swedish House Mafia, Roxette. Funny thing is a lot of American pop songs were written by Swedes. Max Martin has hundreds of songs. Before I go, some of the bands that I really do enjoy are Opeth, Meshuggah, Pain of Salvation, Sabaton, there's Beardfish. I wish I could name them all. Anyways, you guys have a great one. Love y'all.
Thank you, Keith. Any music suggestions for Swedish music?
Robin. She's a great musician.
Benjamin Ingrosso is killing it.
Well, speaking of which, Carolina is a musician and an artist, and you can follow her Spotify at this link right here.
No.
Well, I will promote it. I will promote your Spotify. Don't be all Logum or Jantalo and whatever that is on me. You got to promote yourself. This is America.
So far released 3 Swedish songs, 1 English one.
You want to promote anything? You have a website? Anything?
No.
You were in a Norwegian movie and it got an Emmy Award.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yay.
Yeah, your music has touched the world in so many ways. And another way Sweden has made its name across the world is by interacting with it. So let's move on to the Friend Zone.
Now Now, Sweden has an interesting way of dealing with the rest of the world.
They kind of have a hands-off unless really necessary approach to international conflict.
For one, their security doctrine states that they have a non-partisan stance in regards to military alliances. However, it permits cooperation with threats against peace security with their military. Yes, Sweden has a military. Nonetheless, they joined the EU in 1995, which some criticized as being against neutrality, but Sweden decided to see it as an extension of economic activity that had already been going on with the EU, and they also hold the right to not participate in EU defense. Today, they have 79 embassies abroad on all inhabited continents. In Asia, Iraq actually has had relations way before conflict years, dating back to the 30s, when members of the royal family visited Baghdad to see King Ghazi of Iraq. In the 80s, Swedish companies opened up in Iraq, trade was developing well for a while, and after conflict years, many Iraqis chose Sweden as their destination as refugees. The USA and Canada have always been close, as the US has the largest Swedish diaspora community at over 4 million people, most heavily concentrated in Minnesota. Canada
That's crazy, they're all in that one area.
With a huge community in Manitoba. Between 1820 to 1930, about 1.3 million Swedes immigrated to the Americas, which was at that time.
And y'all decided to go to Minnesota? Like, nothing against Minnesota, but like, there's a lot of cool places in America you can go to. I wonder why you guys all went there.
1/3 of the entire country, and today these nations not only had a close historical bond, but in almost every diplomatic measure aside from military conflict, they've cooperated. Bringing it closer to home, Sweden is actually one of the top donors of Moldova in regards to aid and development. They set a strategy of cooperation in 2007, which gives 11 million euros dedicated to good governance, economy, and rural development. Now we go even closer to the inner circle, the Nordics. Every single one of these 5 nations and their territories has an opinion about Sweden, and the gossip is heavy. Finland is, of course, really close, as for about 600 years they were actually a part of Sweden. And today, Finns are one of the largest non-Swedish communities with a protected language in pockets throughout the country. For Iceland, it's like, we're cool with them, nothing against them. They talk like our ancient Norse ancestors, but otherwise, they're totally our distant cousins. Then we get to the last two, Denmark and Norway. Now here's the thing, each one kind of has a small historical gripe with Sweden. Denmark, as you know, has had more wars with Sweden than any 2 nations on Earth, constantly fighting over influence for Northern Europe. Norway was kind of pissed that Sweden's neutrality prevented them from intervening in war times when they thought the Swedish were like really close and Norway was even part of Sweden. This was especially evident in World War II. It was like the moment of tension. Nonetheless, at the end of the day, you cannot separate the Scandinavian trio. They just get each other too well. They share too much, they have the same general Scandinavian minds, they have that Viking blood, they are truly people of the North. After the insults have been hurled, they will probably say, okay, yeah, we love each other. Denmark and Sweden, though, will probably first hug Norway before hugging each other, but otherwise, yeah, inseparable trio.
All right, and in conclusion, you are the Swedes. I'm going to step out, hold the flag in the background while you speak freely from the heart.
I want to say in conclusion, Sweden is a beautiful country with beautiful nature, beautiful architecture, if we haven't mentioned that just yet.
Yeah, and like we mentioned, if you meet a Swedish person, he or she might be a little I'm not sure about you, but lead on with a smile and some love, and you'll get the exact same back, I promise you.
I like that. That was good. All right, well, thank you guys so much for being in this episode.
Thank you.
And stay tuned. Switzerland is coming up next.
Oh, Switzerland's up next. Nice. Yeah, Sweden, man. I learned a lot. I was a little disappointed I didn't hear anything about the Swedish fish. You know, I thought that would have been a thing. Maybe it's just something we make up. Maybe those jellyfish aren't actually from Sweden. I don't know. So yeah. I was surprised with the life expectancies. I was surprised of the taxidermied whale. That was kind of wild. Of course, somebody had sex in the giant whale. Taxes are a little bit high, but I mean, the payoff on that is you get some caps on your insurance and, the healthcare and whatnot. It's really nice. I don't understand the free food thing. She said we get free food. I don't know if that's like a Taco Tuesday thing, or if you guys just get free food. I don't know. It's like a tax return thing. Like, here's your banana. You pay taxes. Yeah, no, pretty interesting stuff though. I mean, but overall, man, I mean, it looks beautiful. I'd really like to travel out there someday once this whole thing is behind us and I can feel a little more comfortable about, traveling around. The people seem pretty chill too. I get it, man. I'm a little standoffish as well, especially when it comes to strangers. But I feel like most people are like that. If you just kind of, at first they might be a little, standoffish, but as long as you're smiling and you're making eye contact and you're being nice, like chances are they're going to be nice to you too. I think it's more like a human trait, but I can kind of agree with them on their general outlook on how they probably approach certain things. Food looked pretty good. Yeah, at first they showed me that picture of like the dumpling with the pork in it, and on first glance I'm like, this looks kind of gross, man. But after further investigation, I'm like, that's just mashed potatoes. That's just cranberries and like a pork belly or a nice thick cut of bacon there with what looked like a badass dumpling. So yeah, look pretty delicious, honestly. Sweden, I mean, it's like I said, looks beautiful, full of history, full of culture. I mean, I love to travel through some of those rivers. What do they call it? Like the Venice of the North or something they said. I forget how they phrased it, but that was kind of cool. The island thing was kind of amazing. I know there is a lot of islands up in that area, in the Finland area, from learning about just, you know, the kind of Scandinavias in general. The fact that you guys are basically reclaiming millimeters? I forget how much it is. You're reclaiming a certain amount of land from the ocean every year. That's kind of cool. You're growing. Learning about the ice caps thing was pretty awesome too. You know, like why are there so many pockets of these ponds and rivers and stuff like that? And it's kind of cool that you know, as the Earth was thawing out and the Ice Age was ending, you know, you guys sponged back up, you know, and that created all those like kind of cool lakes and everything, which makes perfect sense. I'm still a little confused about northern Sweden, you know, up there towards like the Arctic Circle and stuff. Like how are there people up there, you know, or is it just like kind of just forest? Because from what it looks like it's just pretty like there's just nobody around. It's just, you know, forest for as far as the eye can see, which is kind of cool. The export thing, yeah, that's pretty standard. I figured, you know, you'd probably be in a lumber without the forest and everything you have up there. But overall, man, this was a good episode. I'm sorry this one went kind of long. If you made it to the end of the video with me, if you watched this entire hour-long video with us and learned about Sweden, please let me know down in the comments. And if you enjoyed your time with me, please consider liking and subscribing. And I'm going to catch you guys out on the next video. Night, everybody.